Recording in progress.
My last shit's of Good evening. So I'll call to order the Center Region Council of Governments General Forum meeting for November 24th to order. Please rise as you're able and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Mr. Binkley will call the roll.
Mr. Balachandran, Mr. Hayes, Mr. Herndon. Here. Mr. Kasab.
Here.
Mr. Christian Goody.
Here.
Mr. Myers.
Present.
Mr. Courtney. Here. Mr. Vernier.
Here.
Mr. Best. Mr. Frank. Here. Ms. Mariner. Mrs. Traynor. Here. Mr. Heller.
Here.
Mr. Patterson.
Here.
Ms. Stevens.
Here, sorry.
Ms. Strickland.
Here.
Mr. Thompson.
Here.
Mr. Beck. Ms. Hartle.
Here.
Ms. Perkins. Mr. Piper. Mr. Chavello. Mr. Hameister.
Here.
Mr. Harden. Here. Mr. Lord. Here. Ms. Moriarty.
Here.
Mr. Wilson. Mr. Abrams. Mr. Chesky. Mr. Magruder.
Here.
Ms. Robb. And Ms. Whitman.
Here.
Sure, moving back to you.
All right. Next up will be public comments for any items that are not on the agenda. We will start here in the room. Not seeing any. Any public comments online? Seeing none, we'll start with special recognition, and I will recognize Mr. Kaufman, the fire director.
Thank you. So I usually don't get to go till last. I want to make a couple quick introductions first. I want to introduce, many of you know Brian Bittner. Brian Bittner is the fire chief elect for 2026. So I just want to give him a quick congratulations. To my right is Captain Christopher Martin. He was hired in September. August, yes. Started August, September, and it's been a while since he's been on for a while. And then, unfortunately, in an incident on October 5th, there was a floor collapse at a fire at the Woodward Inn that we were assisting Milheim on. And Mr. Martin happened to be the recipient of being the first one in the basement, not by choice. So he was injured at that fire and is still off duty right now. But what we're here tonight for, though, is to read the unit citation for the rescue company that was at that fire and assisted Mr. Martin out of the basement. And so upon his recommendation, the Alpha Fire Company, Chief Barina, and myself made the following unit citation. I'd like to read that for you tonight. The Center Region Fire Director and the Alpha Fire Chief take great pleasure in accommodating Rescue 5. Lieutenant Kara Stover, Firefighter Diego Gomez, Firefighter Jason Jang, and Firefighter David Barnfield for services set forth in the following unit citation. At approximately 03:13 hours on October 5th, 2025, Rescue 5 was dispatched on a second alarm building fire at 105 Mountain Avenue, Woodford, PA. Rescue 5 responded with a crew of 5 members and began the 30-minute ride from downtown State College. Upon arrival, Rescue 5 reported to the Alpha side of the building and was assigned to opening the exterior of the Delta side exposure as well as perform exterior fire attack on the Charlie Delta side of the main fire building. While operating on the Delta exposure roof, the Rescue 5 crew was reassigned to take a line through the front door of the main fire building to perform fire attack and overhaul on the first floor. While attempting to gain position on the first floor, Captain Martin fell into a hole on the Delta side interior and subsequently landed 10 feet into the basement level. Captain Martin became inverted, landed on his shoulder, and experienced a significant injury. Firefighter Gomez began falling into the hole but landed on an exposed floor beam. Firefighter Gomez initiated verbal contact with Captain Martin and began planning the rescue of Captain Martin. Firefighter Gomez, while injured himself, notified the other crew members of the situation and obtained a roof ladder to assist Captain Martin. Once the ladder was lowered into the hole, Captain Martin climbed up and was assisted by Firefighter Gomez, who sustained a wrist burn and almost fell into the hole a second time. The Rescue 5 crew assisted both Captain Martin and Firefighter Gomez onto the first floor and back to the front door of the fire building. Rescue 5 performed a rescue of a downed and injured firefighter with a high level of professionalism, dedication, and calmness. Performing this rescue demonstrates the dedication and commitment of the Alpha Fire Company members and represents the best traditions of the fire service. And this was signed by myself and Chief Breen of the Alpha Fire Company. So the members who were on that rescue crew, all the members were our students. They're not here tonight because of that. They're on break. Lieutenant Kara Stover is from the Lock Haven area, and firefighter Diego Gomez is from Mill Creek in the Erie County. Firefighter Jason Jang, I believe, is Hershey area. And firefighter David Barnfield is from Montreal, Canada. He's an international student. So I've talked to you many, many times about our student firefighters and how they provide services. That's a prime example. So while they're not here tonight, we presented them this unit citation at the last fire company meeting, and I just wanted to convey to this group the tremendous work of those individuals in helping get our newest employee out of the hole. So please give them a round of applause.
Let's see. If nobody has any new agenda items or corrections to the minutes, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
We've got a first by Mr. Myers, second by Ms. Whitman. All those in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed say no. Motion passes. COG committee restructuring recommendations, and I will recognize the executive director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have received a proposal from College Township regarding several recommendations for the committee structures of COG and recommendations to consider changing those committees. We have further broken those down into several discussions that happened at the executive committee meeting last week. And those have then been placed into two actual motions that come before this group. The third one is presented to the group but does not require any action from the general forum. So the first of these actions would be to eliminate the Facilities Committee and the Human Resources Committee. Both of these committees were started prior to full-time staff existing at COG for these functions. We have since added staff that take care of those issues. When we examined the job description for the facilities manager, it aligned with the duties explained in the description of the Facilities Committee. Human Resources Committee did have other functions, and I provided a recommendation on how to consider handling those functions, which are included in your packet. So existing would be facilities functions would transition to the facilities manager with administrative oversight by the executive director. Facilities manager would provide quarterly reports through memorandums of record to both the executive committee and the general forum. Human resources matters would be managed administratively by staff with consultation from the executive committee and general forum approval when needed when issues of organizational structure, policy, or compensation arise. And the executive committee should appoint anti-harassment liaisons from the general forum membership to ensure the COG maintains a clear and accessible reporting pathway consistent with best practices and adopted policy. These three recommendations then take care of all of the functions provided for in the descriptions of those two committees. The next item is the one that does not require any action tonight and is a staff recommendation regarding the Lucy and Cass committees, which used to be one committee, were then split into two committees, and now we find that there is not sufficient work for the two to operate separately and still meet on a monthly basis. The recommendation was that we consider the potential consolidation of those committees, and they can continue to meet as separate bodies through 2025, but meet bi-monthly pending a 2026 study to evaluate potential merger. And the motion that was taken up by the executive committee, which does not require general form approval, is that the Land Use and Community Infrastructure and Climate Action and Sustainability Committees hold joint meetings in January and March of 2026 to explore the possibility of merging their duties into a single committee and evaluate potential membership of the newly merged committee. Furthermore, these committees should aim to provide the executive committee with a recommendation on a possible merger during the first quarter of 2026. So all that is being done at this point is that the two respective committees would meet with each other and discuss what it would look like and if that is a reasonable consideration for moving forward, and they will put forth a recommendation themselves on what should happen with those committees. The third issue is regarding Parks and Library, and there was a recommendation from College Township that the existing Parks Capital Committee be turned into a Parks/Library Committee. I made a recommendation that we take time to study this issue, and the executive committee agreed to put forth a recommendation for a motion that reads that the general forum, as recommended by the executive committee, establish an advisory Parks and Library ad hoc committee to study the possibility of creating a single standing Parks and Library committee, approve the ad hoc committee membership, and advise that the group aim to release a report on its recommendations within 6 months of its establishment. This committee would be made up of the two agency directors that are currently in place for those agencies, a representative from the SCLO board, a representative from the Parks Authority, 2 members of the general forum to be selected by the next COG chair, and myself. That would be a 7-member committee that would work to release a report next year on the possibility of a standing Parks and Library Committee. This is an issue that absolutely requires more time and more study, as there are state regulations that affect these types of governance, particularly with SCLO Library, where there is a state library code that we have to follow, just like we have borough codes and township codes. And so we have to go through all of the legal mechanisms to determine how to move forward on that. The biggest action being asked tonight is on the facilities and HR committees. However, there is still, the motion for tonight is not for their elimination. The motion is that the general forum, as recommended by the executive committee, advise the member municipalities not to appoint representatives to the facilities committee and human resources committee during the first half of 2026, and that these committees do not schedule meetings during that period, and further that the functions of the facilities committee and human resources committee be managed as outlined in the executive director's memo. This gives us an opportunity to test how these recommendations would function through the first half of the year, and we can explore whether or not all items are being addressed to the satisfaction of the general forum, to our employees, and to all of the municipalities as a whole. So there are certainly issues at hand there, but the recommendation for tonight is not the immediate elimination of these committees, The reason for the wording of this is that the Articles of Agreement state that we may have these committees. It does not say that we shall have these committees. And so by not placing members on those committees, we are not in violation of the Articles of Agreement without modification. You simply are not placing them there. However, we also have to address the functions as described in the Articles of Agreement and in the enabling legislation for facilities. Facilities does not exist in the Articles. Now that's fairly long-winded, but I wanted to give you as thorough an explanation of the motions before you for tonight, as well as the middle item on Lucian Cast that is not a motion to be had. There is no action to be taken on that this evening.
Can either start with either questions or a motion for Facilities Committee and HR Committee. Mr. Patterson.
What's the rationale behind appointing no members? I could see not having any meetings 100%, but the no members appointed, what if you did want to have, somebody wanted to call from a staff perspective a meeting, then you have no members to call a meeting, so.
Any issues that do come up, we can address through the executive committee as laid out in my recommendations. So there is no emergency need that we cannot meet through the existing structure of the executive committee. And this saves us from placing people onto committees, having them set their time aside, only to then take a committee away from them. So rather than take something away at some point, if it is determined that these committees should be in place during the first half of the year, then it takes just a simple motion or waiting until the second half of the year for the membership to make appointments at that time.
If I may follow up.
Go ahead.
Good. So then the follow-up would then be, why not just kill the committee, and if you do want it in 6 months, reinstantiate?
Yeah. To kill the committee would require replacing the Articles of Agreement, and that is going to be a longer process than we have before the end of this year.
How about facilities, you said was not in the articles?
Facilities is not, but human
Okay.
resources is.
So we could kill facilities, but HR, we could do it?
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Bernier and then Mr. Best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ben, could you, for the general forum, just let folks know approximately how often those two committees actually met calendar year 2025?
In 2025, we had 2 cancellations for facilities and four or five cancellations.
Sounds about right.
We had 4 or 5 cancellations for HR. In several of these cases, this was not a matter of there not being meetings scheduled, but people not showing up for these meetings. We did not have attendance at these meetings, so staff had to prepare everything for them and then arrive, wait, and then have to close the meeting down because there was not a quorum in attendance. This happened on multiple occasions.
Thank you.
Mr. Best and then Mr. Christian Cuddy.
Yeah, just requesting a hopefully brief review of what the process is to change the Articles of Agreement and an approximate timeline.
It will require individual municipal action across the board. I would recommend that be a several month process. And the reason I say that is that these are not the only issues that probably should be looked at in the Articles of Agreement. I think 2009
Sounds about right.
was the last time that the articles themselves were adjusted in any way. There have been items like the Facilities Committee where something is done outside of the articles, but it has been 16 years since the articles have been amended. We should be cleaning things up more often than that.
All right, so just to get to the point of my question, so the process is for individual municipalities to pass the Articles of Agreement. So we need a draft, and then we have amendments, and then we all pass it, right? Okay,
I have not been through that whole process yet. I still have more to.
right. So I'm just saying, yeah, I've never been through it either. I would guess a lot of us haven't, right, 2009. Yeah, I kind of understand, why would we kick the can down the road if we can just do it if everyone agrees? That's just all. Yeah. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Christian.
I have a couple of questions. The first is, what I understood is that the meetings were scheduled, there were items on the agenda, but maybe you didn't have quorum, something happened where you couldn't move forward. Am I right on that?
For several of those. For HR committee, there were a couple times where there were simply no issues to be discussed.
Okay.
And I would say, I think mostly for facilities, there was not a ton of action to be done. It was mostly reports being given by the facilities manager throughout the year at those meetings.
Okay. So thank you, I understand that, and so that's good. I have a question about bullet point number 3, that the executive committee should appoint anti-harassment liaisons and I didn't.
So those currently come
understand
from the
that.
HR committee.
Okay.
So if there is no HR committee, we would still want those anti-harassment liaisons to exist,
Okay.
and they would just come from the general forum as a whole rather than from a specific committee.
Would we have one member from each, COG member?
We have two liaisons.
Okay. And how would we appoint those? It's just the executive committee deciding which municipality or?
As it exists, it is one person from 2 separate municipalities.
Okay. I guess I was just trying to figure out, would these change every year? Have you had, or is this something we're going to discuss?
They can stay the same.
Okay.
This has not been an issue in the past, having a couple people who have been assigned this role. I believe they have only been contacted once in their time existing. There's names and contact information that we share with our employees so that if an issue arises at a senior level, that employees have some place to turn to. There's then a process that they engage, so they are not doing any actual work. All they're there for is to contact the proper people to do an investigation.
Great. No, I appreciate that. The reason I was asking that is I'm wondering, it's good for whoever that is to have the right training, do things right. So I'm assuming HR would help them
Yep.
maybe with that. And whether we want to keep that, just making sure that if it's changed, that they know what to do and we have the right
Yeah.
people.
That is something that we are working to update as well. Currently, our own solicitor does the investigations according to our policy, and we don't believe that should be the case. So we are actively looking for alternatives either through law firms or HR consulting groups to handle those investigations should they be needed.
So that's a policy being developed then, and
Yes.
you'll update us. Okay, thank you.
In my experience, usually those individuals have volunteered, and we've usually always tried to keep it with one male, one female, so everyone has one or the other to go to. So, Mr. Haymeister.
You may have mentioned this. What is the procedure or process of we elected people to the managers with respect to what they're working on or what they're...
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking for.
To my thinking, we're reversing the input of the elected people. Because right now, we should have direct things to the manager. And what I'm hearing is that you're reversing that. Where do we get the input as elected officials to those 2 managers?
You're talking about the anti-harassment liaisons?
No. He's to the
The
HR
facilities and
and
human
facilities director.
Those are employees of mine that I direct
Well, where's the linkage from the elected officials to you with respect
through
to
the
this new
executive
system?
committee.
That's what I'm missing in this puzzle.
Through the executive committee to me.
That's placing the elected officials at a secondary level.
They're only at a secondary level for items that are management-related items. So any policy issues would still come before the elected officials.
Not if there isn't a committee of elected officials from that topic.
So the HR matters, in the recommendations, said HR matters would be managed administratively by staff with consultation from the executive committee and general forum approval when needed when issues of organizational structure, policy, or compensation arise. So the elected officials are still there for anything on the structure, policy, and compensation for COG.
I don't understand, we're not going to drag it out, so it's too complex.
Mr. Chair, I think, could I offer something?
Yeah.
So the thought is that the HR director and the facilities director would then give input directly to the appropriate committee. An example, public safety, Lucy, library board, library director if needed, parks authority, parks director if needed. It would go to that level, but end of the day, there's no real change. There's still.
The committee's being dissolved.
Instead of going to a separate HR and a separate facilities, that information would come. There isn't a facilities agency. There isn't an HR agency. So example, fire, if there was an HR matter, you would have the HR director as a resource to that committee for that matter. And through their management or supervision of the executive director. So it's just saying instead of having a separate HR and facilities that you got to go to because the agenda machine has to go, make through all these rounds and everything, that would come to the committee with direct supervision of the agency.
That's making it extremely complex. It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Let you think on that. I got Mr. Hardin, followed by Moriarty and Portney and Krishkati.
Yeah, excuse me, I want to address the facilities committee. And the reason I do, I have concerns, and my concerns are this. One of the things we all have with this organization is fiduciary responsibility on assets. And one of the reasons that the facilities committee was formed was because the finance committee realized that they couldn't keep track of the tens of millions of dollars of assets this organization had. So we started the facilities committee to start that process. We had a good manager at the beginning. He did well. Then we had some bad managers. And we had Whitehall Regional Park, and it went to crap in a handbag real quick. Now we have good ones again. What happens if they go away and we start with bad ones again? I'm concerned that we're making this change right now that's going to, because we have good people now. Okay, and that's fine, and I don't have a problem with it, but what happens when they go away? What happens if somebody retires? We've had that. And I just don't think I'm comfortable throwing that into a, here you go, run with it. Like to Denny's point, we really need some elected official oversight there. I still believe that. And that's my concern with that one. The rest of it, HR, we can put a harassment group together. I have no problem with all that. That's the way most things work. But I do have concerns about our fiduciary responsibility in handling and turning all that over without oversight. And that's my concern. Yeah, it's going to go to the executive committee, but we all know a lot of us have sat on the executive committee. And again, you have some discussions, but you're usually moving things forward to the general forum. So I really think we need to think that out before we completely get rid of that. We need to have some kind of an oversight, call it a vehicle that looks at that and that maybe reports to, or the facility manager runs, calls, meetings when he needs to, whatever. But I still think we need that. I don't think we can just totally walk away from facilities and assets. That concerns me.
I'm not here to argue in any
No, I'm
way,
concerned-
shape, or
I'm
form
concerned with that.
on these. The only thing I would say is that if these committees are staying, there has to be a stronger commitment from elected officials to attend the meetings that are called.
Dan, I'm not saying that the
That's-
committee needs to say, but I think we need to do some look at it. How do we get oversight, do that from the elected officials on assets? I just think we still need that. We need that, I don't know what you want to call it, we need that thumb on the lever. I really do believe that. In some way, somehow, however we do it.
I was gonna say, worst case, it goes back to the finance committee like
Yeah,
it was,
right, exactly.
like it was for
And I
30-some
already know what we
years.
do. I know what we do. I don't want to come back there. So yes, I already know that's where we're headed.
Yeah.
Ms. Moore, yes, you're next.
I mean, I agree with Frank, and there's a couple other things that I wanted to add to it. I do understand, like you said, you need a bigger commitment. There was one facilities committee meeting that was a blunder, and I know that. The other one was not called because you were on vacation, somebody else was on vacation, so we did not have the meeting. I do find that, my problem is if you're sending the stuff from the facilities committee to the executive committee, what kind of commitment are you putting on the people on the executive committee now? I mean, they have a big commitment. So it seems to me, I would rather have oversight, and we need oversight in the facilities committee instead of piling more on the executive committee. And I do have a fiduciary responsibility. I have a responsibility to my constituents to make sure that this huge amount of money is in check. And I agree, I don't believe just because now it's in check that tomorrow it's still gonna be in check. So I don't even mind if we say we don't have agenda items for this month. I don't mind if we don't have agenda items for 2 months. What I do mind is that we don't even have a committee. And that to me is disturbing, especially when we've had things that have had to be brought up before this committee this past year. We've had things that I was unaware of that the committee had gone over because it didn't happen to be reported to me for one reason or another. That bothered me a little bit. And to have like no touch or feel of these assets, I just don't agree.
The idea is not to remove the discussion of any assets. As Mr. Frank was saying,
It doesn't
when
matter.
when a fire department building or asset is being discussed, it would be discussed at the Public Safety Committee, which already exists. And these issues are already being discussed in multiple committees. And by the time we get through the CGTV process those issues have gone through multiple committees before it ever hits any kind of vote whatsoever. Particularly with facilities issues, those have gone through that individual committee, they've gone through the SCLO Library Board, they've gone through the Parks Authority prior to ever getting to finance or exec without even having a facilities committee in place. And that isn't going to change. Those issues would still be discussed at those committees. What we're saying is that staff should be responsible for the maintenance and oversight of our facilities on a day-to-day basis, which we are. And I am happy to be held accountable for those items, just like I am happy to be held accountable for the management of HR issues through Becca with the COG. If they keep getting screwed up, I am the one that everybody should be coming after at that point. I'm the one that you should be holding accountable for these kinds of things. It is my job, it is what you pay me for, to make sure that these things are managed properly. And if I am not doing my job, then I am the one that you should all be coming to. Yes, absolutely, I'm sure. I am a well-paid individual. It has been talked about plenty.
Oh, yes.
I am perfectly fine stating that there's a reason that I am a well-paid individual, and that is because I am the one that should be held responsible for these items. That was in my job description. So I'm happy to take on those responsibilities and hold my people responsible for their tasks.
I have Mr. Portney, followed by Mr. Christian Cuddy, Mr. Patterson, Ms. Hartle, and Mr. Kasab.
Is it okay if I actually defer? I had a couple questions, but Kevin serves on the facilities committee, so I want to make sure he is involved in this first. So it'll come back to me after he speaks, if that's okay with you, Mr. Chair.
I think I can do that.
So, just listening with all this, and obviously being on the facilities committee, I feel, I saw the issue about, us, being accountable for what's being spent, but I think there's enough checks. If a decision's made regarding facilities, it's going through all the committees before a decision's met. So I don't see that we're going to miss something. And I will speak on behalf of myself. The issue of meetings not occurring because individuals do not show, that's something that's got to get squared away. And I totally see the impact on staff. They prepare everything, they show up, set up the audio, the equipment. And it's also unfair to the other individuals that make arrangements to be at that meeting. So those were my two comments. So I have no issue with it being the facilities going away. I think it's still going to be in check, and you're correct, you're responsible for it, so.
Mr. Portney, could I put you at the end of the list?
We always put it back.
We'll get back to you. Ms. Christian Cuddy.
So I was just thinking about a couple of things that Mr. Harden said, because on the finance committee, a lot of times, things come to us after it's gone through facilities, and there are a couple of things that we've, talked about. For example, just like we're working on a fund balance policy, we've talked about, do we need a maintenance policy? We've talked about these different things, and we don't have that right now, and it felt like those might be things the facilities committee might take on, and maybe it's not. But so that's where I'm a little stuck about, just like the finance committee is working with staff to create this, do those of the individuals who are serving on the facilities committee see that role? Because it's something we need to have. We don't always know why something's being depreciated, why something's being, why we're doing new things, and this policy is missing. Is that a role where elected officials should be playing a role, partnering with staff? We understand that the responsibility is with you, but do we need that? And that's why I'm concerned about this committee going away. And I feel like if, people are not attending, that's a different matter, like putting that aside. That can be different for next year. And I agree, if there's nothing on a month, that's okay. But do we want this committee to take on, and is this the appropriate committee to take on all these questions of, do we need a policy, and work with staff to do that? And I'll defer to, the current chair, and all of the current members.
Mr. Patterson?
Hearing all the concerns with maybe this path for an experiment, I think whoever feels strongly about keeping them, because I don't, should probably, I would recommend that whoever is, and at the time that Mr. Chair is ready to take a motion, that you make the motion that's most comfortable to you. And perhaps it's something where it is appointing someone, and it's quarterly to start as an experiment, and then go from there and see how it works, see if that is the right sort. But it sounds like I am probably in favor of, let's just not appoint and then see how that goes. But I'm also in favor of maybe do appoint and make it something smaller scope, smaller time commitment that we can do. And so I don't know if we can about Mr. Executive Director, but I do think that there's enough concern that we keep it and then have a smaller scope. Maybe just thinking that, tossing that out there, Mr. Chair. And I would also recommend maybe piecemealing it. Let's start with, a motion on finance committee and then a motion HR committee and maybe separate them with a clear, facilities. With facility, it's a recommended motion, you don't have to do it. Facilities and HR, 2 separate motions, and I think that maybe will be helpful to folks. Over.
Ms. Harda.
Yes, thank you. For someone who's been on facilities since day one continually, I would like to say that I'm actually proud that we're at this point, because this was actually our goal, because at the time, there was nothing. As finance, we had no individual and staff, we had no oversight. So the committee was put in place to put procedures in place, to put a lot of documentation, to get somebody in there. We've had different people, but I think now to the point we've had different folks, all have left their mark, and now we have Sam, who's doing a very good job. He has a lot of graphs, much better reporting. We have asset management. We have everything on the building. Things are going into Tracer. So as now, when somebody new comes in, we have all this now in place. And basically for the last, many months, it basically has been what Rich said. We've just been listening to what Sam has done and reporting, and there hasn't been a lot of work. I think there's a lot of structure in place now that we didn't have before, so that as personnel changes, we're in much better shape. Everything still has to go through finance that gets put through and through exec committee and through general forum. So actually, this is what our goal was to be when we started finance, is to basically work ourselves out of a job by putting structure in place and filling it with an adequate, with staff. So I'm pleased we're at this point, and I think this actually is still an experiment, as we're just agreeing to it for 6 months. So I am in favor.
Mr. Park?
So I think that I serve on Parks Capital, the Vice Chair of Parks Capital, and I think our committee, in tandem with other committees, work on, and now there's a proposal on the table about library, to add that in. We're talking about assets that COG owns, physical things that we can point to that say, we own these buildings, we own this park, we own this, and we need oversight over it. Parks provides the oversight over the parks. I know facilities has been sort of the overarching, like future planning tool, but I think that it's good that we're talking about library, it's good that we're talking about other things that we own, because we need a hub, and that's what our next thing to talk about is. We need something where one committee talks about everything that we control. And I think facilities is in conflict, in my opinion, from what I've heard. It's this overarching thing, and to eliminate it, because we have someone who's managing the day-to-day operations, is a great thing, because we already have oversight over the decision as to whether or not we do structural capital things with the assets that we own. So all of the decision-making happens at the committee level, then it goes to general forum. But I think that this facilities committee is maybe an unnecessary step, because we already have oversight over the assets that we own. The building that we sit in could be transformed into it could be the oversight over capital improvements that you want to do to this building is done through our CGTV, is that what we call it? CGTV, and other things that we do. We talk about money spent for assets, and some of the discussion is housed in parks, and maybe now parks and library. So I support this, and I think that's my words.
Mr. Herndon, and then Mr. Magruder.
Yeah, thank you. Just thinking, like, meetings like this are expensive, right? We have multiple staff people who are here for the entire meeting. They're also preparing beforehand and doing stuff afterwards. Those hours, they add up, and they have to be paid for by the taxes from all of our residents, right? So, if there's not something that's happening in this particular meeting that is unique to that meeting, I think it makes sense to eliminate it. You know, if it's essentially these things are being discussed by two different groups and you're having, you know, two different decisions that could be in conflict, which just creates even more time. Like, we already have things come back to this general forum as that sort of second thing, and we certainly can have conflicts here. And so we have that secondary check. But reducing that sort of staff burden, it's really reducing our costs, right? Which is something I think we should all be thinking about, you know, as we're moving forward and, you know, we're seeing costs rise. This is a way to reduce staff hours without, you know, having a, you know, demonstrable issue. So yeah, I think it makes sense. And I also think doing it this way where it's a test, you know, where essentially we're doing it for 6 months, if it didn't work out, we would just simply appoint at that, and it would suddenly have a biannual meet, or what do you call it, twice a year at minimum, and then we could even have more after that. So I don't think this is a commitment to kill it forever, like was the very first proposal. I think this is a test, and I think it's a test that will at least initially save money, and if it's working well after 6 months, then, and it's saving us money, saving our taxpayers money, then I think it's one that we can continue with. And if it's not, and there's like something huge that we're like, oh my gosh, that, you know, we had 6 months and this big thing happened and it was missed and this was the reason it was missed, we can easily come back to it because we haven't eliminated it. We've just taken this moment to test it. So I support the test as written.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Herndon, about the staff time, because there was at least 2 agency directors and executive committee that I pointed out the fact of how many possible meetings just every month that they would maybe routine or at least routinely attend. Like in the planning agency, you got a regional planning committee, you got Lucy, you got CCMPO, and then, yeah, and if you name any other committee that they might need to attend, they could be attending 6 or more committee meetings just in 1 month alone. So, yeah. Mr. Magruder.
I agree with a lot that's been said with basically probably moving forward the sorry, I'm blanking. The recommendation stated in the agenda. There's a lot of redundancies in our systems.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing. And again, we also have staff who are doing a really good job managing these particular areas. And I think it is going to be incumbent, you know, should there be turnover down the road, that anyone taking on these particular roles understand the expectations and the high bar that has been set. And so I think it's going to be on us as elected officials. But again, a lot of redundancies in the system. I also want to, you know, just speaking for myself, I understand that, you know, I'm a working person and we have a lot of working people, you know, here doing governance. But the idea of simply electing individuals and who may or may not be, I know for myself, working full time, I like bracket out my schedule for these particular meetings, and so I would not want to be set up, you know, from the start of the year excluding opportunities, you know, because I may or may not be in one of these meetings. Yeah. And so I know we also have individuals who are going to be new to governance, and I don't want to set that expectation up either. And so, again, what's stated in the agenda, the proposed motion, I would want to sort of move forward with that. This is a test, an experiment, and so let's see how that goes.
Is that a motion?
No. It did not sound like a motion. Or was that intended as a motion?
Did you entertain?
I can make the motion.
I would entertain a motion. I don't think anyone has any more
I
questions.
move what's in the agenda.
A second.
Okay, got a motion by Mr. Myers, second by Ms. Whitman. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed say no.
I don't know, I still show, I don't know what I want to do, so I'll abstain.
Abstentions go with the majority, so it's still doesn't matter.
It's unanimous.
Well, I'm supposed to say present, right?
Oh, yes. Lucy and Cass Committee, there was no
no action.
Yeah, does not require action today, but any questions that anyone had on that item? Mr. Herndon?
So, my main question is, when will the joint meetings be held, so I can set up my own calendar? Obviously, we don't meet on the same day at the same time, so we're gonna have to do some sort of rejiggering there. Do we have any idea?
I believe Pam is also planning on a December meeting, and so I would assume that she's probably going to bring that up at that time. Is that correct, Pam?
Yep, we're gonna meet with the Climate Action and Sustainability Committee, and we're planning to have the discussion with them about moving their time to the Thursday. That's the same time that Lucy was scheduled, the first Thursday, because CRPC meets on Thursday, if you recall. You have joint meetings, so that the two committees will meet alternating months on the first Thursday at 12:15. So we are not planning on meeting with Lucy, but we're planning with the Climate Action and Sustainability Committee to adjust their committee time in January. Does that answer your question, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously if it's the same time already, that works for me. I also just support this in general, again, reducing staff time around extra meetings. If there's not that much to be done in the other one and we can save that time, I think it makes sense to merge back together, but I also think it's a smart way to do it, to test it and see how it goes.
We canceled the 7:30 meeting.
Oh,
Lucy did, yeah.
But she was saying it's for the
Cass.
the other one.
Climate action is
The
meeting.
Climate Action and Sustainability Committee will meet in December, because that's the one we're gonna ask them to consider changing their time to match the Lucy Committee time.
Any other questions? Not any questions for Parks and Library Committee? Mr. Myers?
Yeah, so this one has me confused and somewhat perplexed for a couple of different reasons. Parks and Library, smushing it together into one thing seems problematic, but in addition to that, I want to pick up the theme that Mr. Herndon's been talking about this evening, which I had written down, and I wrote his name next to it because I agree with it. So studies are interesting, but they take time. We're not being asked here to do anything other than a study, but as I think Mr. Magruder talked about, people work, staff has, and so what are we trying to accomplish? From a library standpoint, it's really confusing to me because SCLO has a board of trustees that currently oversees the library. Those trustees are appointed by us. Each municipality appoints representatives to the SCLO library board. So elected officials have that input. Usually the people who are appointed are people who have some knowledge or interest in libraries, more so than a random member of this of the general forum. I know that the library management reports to and gets approval of their budget to their trustees, and then that is also brought to the general forum. The library also reports to each municipality, makes an annual report, they come before State College Borough Council and make a report. So the amount of visibility and transparency that the library has is probably more so than almost any other agency. So I don't understand what we're studying. The fact that no specific elected official sits on the trustee board, but we're appointing the trustees. So if we don't have faith that they're able to do their job, then why are we appointing them? I know in State College we have a bunch of different ABC committees, as some of the townships do as well. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't understand why the library is even mentioned here. Someone who are representatives of the parks might be able to do, Mr. Portney may be able to talk more about that part of it, but this part doesn't make any sense. It's like just studying something to studying it, and I don't think we need to do that.
Mr. Partney, did you have anything? It looked like you were next, and then Mr. Hardin.
Yeah, I mean, at Parks, we talk about, like I said, the vision of our future ideas for our regional parks, right, and our projects that we have. And I consider it, and I said this at Borough Council, and I said this before, as a stopgap committee for feasibility of someone has a great idea on the authority, or someone has a great idea somewhere that let's do a park. It comes to our committee and we say, well, hold on, we don't know if we can financially support that, and if we do anything, it'll be this option, which is a less expensive option, or a less or it's more energy efficient option, or this and that and everything. We look at the options before it goes to the general forum, where we're all at a top level approach. We're not looking into the weeds. We look at the weeds in the Parks Committee, but we also have oversight over what we already have, our pavilions, our parks, the crucial assets, like I said, that we have. And we perform that oversight function, looking over the bank, looking over what resources we're expending, making sure that we have a handle on that before it goes to general forum. So I tend to support the idea, in theory, of merging them, because I think that library is an asset that we have. I don't think that it's micromanaging anything. It's not a micromanager. There are guardrails up. We're not picking out the colors of the sheds in our parks. We're picking out what building materials and whether or not there's going to be porta potties at the park or not, and things like that of that nature. We're not, going so deep. That's what we do.
Mr. Hardin?
Yeah, I think that Mr. Myers and I are going to have to get together and get on the same page, because I like this one. And the reason I like it, it's not because, we have, both those organizations have authorities. And we have the authorities making decisions. And if you watch that MOU that they looked at, that we were all, when did we get mentioned? We didn't get mentioned until it was finance. Where are we going to get the money? Well, we'll send that to COG. And that's what happened. And I'm looking at this as one committee to do the budget, to look over and say, they come on and say, hey, we want this much money, or this is what we want to do. I think that COG, we can still do that, and we can get out of the business of, like he says, well, we want red balloons or blue balloons. I don't care. Just here's what you're going to do. Let them make the decisions on the program. Let them, and when they need big capital things, they come to us, and if we can fund it, if not. A real good example of that was the Millbrook Marsh Nature Center. They decided to do it privately, and it went smooth. Okay, we've seen how much time it takes us to get something funded. So I think that committee that we're trying to form here, or looking at, studying, whatever you want to call it, I think is a good look at where we're at now and where we want to be. And I really think it's more about, from the COG standpoint, from our standpoint, it comes down to dollars and cents. We have to be the bad guy. No, we can't afford that, or we've got to put that off. And I think that committee can be a clearinghouse for that. I'm also, as Mr. Frank knows, I'm trying to keep this out of the Finance Committee, because that seems to be where it always ends up. And I just think that this might be a good buffer for that. And I'm not against what he's saying. I understand that. But I think it's something we could look at and get done. I'm not saying we can't keep meeting while we're doing the study, but I can see something good coming out of that.
So I'm just looking at one of the I'm too tired. The materials that was with the agenda package, and I'm seeing it a little bit different than Mr. Myers, because here it talks about the study is to examine the legal and operational implications. And I was wondering, is that not clear, because it talks about the study addressing statutory limits and governance restraints associated with closed designation as a district library, which already define how municipal and regional interactions must occur. I mean, it's talking about something different. And so as I read this, I'm wondering, is there some confusion on some of this? Like why, it seems like we're studying something different. It's legal and operational stuff that you're suggesting for the study?
You can't get into the
if there is going to be a committee, you can't get into what they can do until we have fully gone through all of the pertinent laws and the restraints of the existing articles that exist for even the Parks Authority. So we have other legal precedents that we have to fully understand before we could establish what a committee of this kind would be allowed to do.
Okay. And it looks like you're thinking that because there's no oversight and they are the largest on our budget, that this might be a good thing to explore. That's what I understood, right? So these are the largest expenditures that, very large expenses, parks and libraries, and we don't have oversight currently as elected officials.
So that was a point that College Township,
right.
Actually, I apologize. He also pointed out that the combination of SLO and parks is almost equal to the combination of fire and code, which already sits under the Public Safety Committee as far as the finances go. This is a matter of there are many legal requirements towards true governance structure, particularly of the library. Being a federation library, district library, there are multiple layers of rules and regulations that have to be followed on how it can be managed and governed. So before we start talking about what a committee could be, we need to understand the legal framework around it.
So that's a study. And is there a precedent on this? Other local governments having this kind of committee for library oversight?
Not that I'm aware of. COG in general is a unique entity in Pennsylvania. I sit on the PayCog board, and there is no other COG that comes close to what we do here. CGTV is the closest one, and they truly operate as an authority and less as a COG. Their functions are very different than ours. But as far as a service organization, there isn't another entity that we could look at. You'd have to go to DC. I think there's another in the Phoenix, Arizona area for anything that rivals us in scope.
Mr. Hearn. So for this Parks and Libraries Committee, I see it proposes 2 members of the general forum, and I see asterisks next to those entries, but I don't see a footnote to explain, like maybe that was just a highlight, or maybe that was meant to have a footnote. This is on that little table.
That just denotes that they're to be selected by the next COG chair.
Okay. And so in terms of that selection, I believe not every member of COG funds the library. Is that also correct?
That is correct.
But every member does fund parks, right?
No.
No, okay, sorry. So I'm just wondering, is there some sort of conflict here if we had a member that funded the parks but not the libraries? Could they never serve on this because we wouldn't want them to be directing a thing that they don't fund? And thus, it makes sense to, again, not lump library and parks together, because you could have a situation where you choose to fund one and not the other.
So we have representation from across the board with most things. They simply do not vote on anything that they are not a funding member of at that time. But, I mean, even in the Parks Governance meeting, we have a representative from Half Moon sitting in there who can speak for the interests of Half Moon Township in case they ever do decide to join, but they're not a voting member of the group. And that is how COG has operated for some time, is that we allow vocal representation but not voting rights. And the membership can change at any time. The way the articles of agreement are written, with 1 year's notice, you can pull out of multiple programs at any time. Any one of our municipalities could do so. So trying to frame how we do things today based off of who might be there in the future would probably be a difficult task because that membership could be altered.
Well, and so for these existing committees, when you have that membership, you're having a member from every municipality, but it's just two, right? It's just two general forum members.
That's correct. At this point, they're making a recommendation. They're studying the issue and seeing if there is something in common that even that group could agree to, let alone can 6 municipalities and 32 elected officials all do it. In the end, if there's going to be any change, it has to come before the general forum to be approved. So as an ad hoc committee, it was recommended that we minimize the number of people. If you go beyond 7, you lessen the efficiency of any kind of working group. This is an attempt to balance representation from the affected staff, from the affected outside boards, between the SCLO board and the Parks Authority, our COG elected officials, and I am in there as a representative, essentially, of all, since I represent all municipalities as well as the staff as a whole.
So I mean, if we are going to make this, so this is just the ad hoc committee.
Correct.
And something else could be there later. But I would just say, if we do go forward with this, at least pick, members that fund both libraries and parks for this ad hoc committee, just because I think it would be kind of, let's say you picked 2 members that didn't fund them, and they're the ones who are deciding the fate of our library. That to me would seem wrong. I don't know if we have to add a motion to put that in there in words to ensure that happens, but I'm just saying that I would want someone who is actually funding our library to be the one who's helping to decide, how we're governing it in the future.
Mr. Portney and Mr. Myers?
I was just not about that. I guess I was responding to, with parks, Half Moon has a non-voting member, and I would assume that if we were to do this, Half Moon would have a non-voting member on the Parks and Library Committee. I think it would be the same ideal situation. So that's just my response to that.
I'm talking about the ad hoc specifically.
Okay.
We're talking about, there's a question, but maybe clarifying what we're seeing in front of us. What we're seeing in front of us is not a future committee. What we're seeing in front of us is basically a study, a committee to study whether we're going to change anything that we're doing now or not. So that brings me, that seems like everyone is agreement on that. So I guess my question is, we currently have some oversight. Certainly for the library we have oversight. We have a board of trustees that we all appoint. And for parks we have some oversight. So are we unhappy with the oversight we currently have? Are we, I guess I'm trying to figure out what the genesis of this is about to then create a new committee. In addition to those committees that already exist are going to keep existing, or the trustees, and another committee to study what are we studying? What has prompted the idea to do this? I guess is I feel like I need to understand before I'm going to vote on anything. Like why are we considering something that in effect already exists?
I'm going to defer to the College Township delegation to answer that.
I was looking at you, but not necessarily expecting that you were the one that.
Right, yeah.
You were running the meeting, that's why I looked at you.
We'll give them an opportunity here. You and Mr. Bernier.
Yes.
Appear to be
I
ready
was
to
going to
answer
say,
this.
I'll defer to our chair first.
Thanks, Rich. Evan, it's too bad you weren't at the work session, because we covered that in,
I'm sorry, I have to apologize for that. My daughter I had my first grandchild and I was visiting. Sorry. She actually had a medical issue, so I couldn't come to the meeting. So I apologize for not being there. But we're all discussing it here. So the executive session or not is we're all talking about it now. And that is, the relevance of that is, I'm not sure. But go ahead.
Well, first let me say congratulations.
Thank you.
So, now that you've shamed me for.
What can I say?
No, it's just ironic because we probably spent more time talking about that particular subject than anything else. And just a couple of things, and then I'm going to cede the floor to Rich. So many of the comments, including first ones you made, Evan, are really making the case to eliminate both of those, both the SCLO and the Parks committees. And, you know, for some of us at College Township, that was our feeling. But we didn't think we could sell that to the general forum, so the fallback position was, you know, to collapse the two committees into one, you know, and we figured after a year or two, we'd figure out we didn't even need that one for all the reasons that have already been articulated here. You know, these are standalone authorities that we appoint members to for us. You know, so policy level guidance is already provided by each of these municipalities. And the only reason that we need any kind of involvement at all is because a decent portion, somewhere around 70 to 80% of their budget comes from these member municipalities. So we were looking just for some way to get keep the elected officials in their lane, meaning keep them out of the lane of the appointed authority members and simply focusing on the finances. And, you know, because everyone saw a few years ago, we had elected officials crossing out of their lane in the Whitehall Road Park discussion. You know, they were actually treading on and into areas that was the Parks Authority's responsibility. So the reason that this is before you tonight, and frankly, a lot of this discussion that we're having would be subject matter for the committee to discuss, should we move forward and put one together. But the reason that we ended up with a committee to study the need to have these two committees was for exactly the reasons that we're having this discussion tonight. It's entirely possible that committee could come back and say, we're sticking with what we have. But it was, we thought, the most efficient way to vet out the need for, and if there's a need for, the responsibilities for elected officials' roles in these two unique operations that are independent authorities. Rich, anything to add to that?
Just a couple things. So, first and foremost, this isn't about anybody doing bad or doing something. We lived through, the parks governance stood up because there was a vacuum in governing documents and procedures and all that kind of stuff that allowed somebody to step in and do bad. I don't know any other way to say it. And we allowed it. And we didn't have the tools to point to say, no, that isn't such because we have, this is the policy, this is the procedure, this is the things that we have in place. So this is, I just want to stress again, I will be the first one to admit, I was shocked when I heard that this was interpreted as viewing anyone negatively, to include our authority, to include our library board, or anything of that. It has nothing to do with that. Blame it on me. I grew up in the 80s. I'm a trust but verify guy. So you put the things in place so that you can say, I have these things. I am very comfortable with that. So I have the utmost respect of authority and boards. I have to deal with 8 different corporations and LLCs that each one of them has to be respectful of each other's lanes and everything like that. So that's where I'm coming from in that, and I'm not seeing the money follow that same procedures and that consistency. So if you're looking at the College Township memo, we list everybody that's in the COG and who has really and when we say, one of the other things that came out, oversight has many different menus and everything. I think I said at one of the committees, I said I had oversight of stuff. That didn't mean I had any power. I was responsible, but end of the day, somebody else had the true power, and that's the general forum on the tax dollars and everything like that. So we're just, I think Mr. Bernier at the exec meeting said it best. We're seeking the appropriate level of oversight. And when you're talking about multi-million-dollar agencies and everything, and right now the Finance Committee is judge, jury, and executioner for this. And that was the thought where we have our best discussions in College Township is when the public safety rep comes and says, hey, this is important. We need to do this. And so they have an advocate. Right now, thankfully this year was much better than previous years, but poor Christie's been beat up bad in years past. And it wasn't fair because she didn't have people to advocate for her agency throughout the year and bring it forward and everything. So that's where it boils out of, building advocates, developing the appropriate level of oversight. I shared with the executive committee that a study goal that an equal deference needs to be made to respect the fiduciary duties of elected officials with taxpayer dollars, as is made in our fear of not towing the various regulatory lines listed. If guardrails are needed, I trust we are smart enough to identify those and put those in place. That's all I have.
Mr. Myers? Yeah, one last comment on this. So we just voted to eliminate financial oversight on facilities, and I was on the Finance Committee when we created the Facilities Committee because there were people that were concerned about the facilities, that we needed additional input. But so on one hand, we're arguing we need more oversight now of things that actually have oversight and things that we just eliminated oversight. So it continues to confuse me. So I would not be opposed to a complete study of all the committees that we have with a strategic goal in mind of what we're trying to accomplish. But it seems to me that what we just did first and now what we're going to, it's all a mishmash, and I don't know what our strategic goal is. So I'm going to vote against this. Maybe I should have voted against the first one too because of that, but it's good to experiment. It's good to try to do things differently and take a look at things. But we've now looked at all the different committees and taken 3 different approaches to the committees that exist. I don't want to mean to throw a bomb in the middle here because we're near the end of this, but it's confusing, so I'm going to vote no because I'm not sure where we're headed and what we're trying to do.
I'm going to make the motion.
I was just going to offer to Mr. Myers, I think they are different. I know the guy that authored the standing up of the Facilities Committee, and there was an absolute reason at that time because we had no oversight on that. That was to inform the capital improvement plan. We are not that same COG. We have various things between the facilities director, and I would offer kudos to the executive director. I think we have not had an executive director that has the background in these items that our current one does. So we've moved forward in that, and I think that's what the facilities and HR vote is reflective of. And everything. But yeah, no, I get it. We're trying to reduce committees, let's make another committee. And that goes back to why we didn't want a Parks and a Library Committee, even though that came out at the exec meeting as well. Is it too big for one and everything, and are they too different than, and I think what was the first, public amenities. They were both public amenities. That was the similarity in them and everything. So I would just offer, it's a conversation. It's a conversation to have, and I think we identified It might come back and say, do nothing. It might come back and say, do 2 committees. It might come back and say, do 1 committee, or something totally that we haven't even thought about. For my parks governance friends, how long did we spend educating ourselves on what the Authorities Act allows and doesn't allow and all that good kind of stuff? It's not something you take lightly. So, thank you.
Mr. Portney.
I'm going to make a motion, but it's going to be different than what is in the agenda, real slightly. The motion, I move that the general forum, as recommended by the executive committee, establish an advisory parks and library ad hoc committee with the 2 general with the current makeup that is listed in the agenda, but the 2 general forum members be selected from municipalities that contribute to both parks and library budgets. This committee will study the possibility of creating a single standing parks and library committee, approve the ad hoc committee's membership, and advise that the group aim to release a report on its recommendations within 6 months of its establishment.
Defer to staff here that's making sure they're logging this.
Just to clarify that the only addition is that the 2 general forum members must be paying members of the 2 programs being studied.
Does it? Okay, got a motion by Mr. Portney, second by Ms. Stevens. Any further discussion? I had Mr. Patterson, Mr. Herndon on my list, and Mr. Lord.
So I can appreciate the motion, and I liked what Mr. Myers said, and maybe having something a little bit broader than just parks and library ad hoc, because I think we've taken a step with with facilities and HR. I did it again. We've taken a step with facilities and HR, which could have come from the same ad hoc committee, which looked broader. I think College, Township, thank you for doing some deep thinking there, and having some recommendations for kind of moving forward. But I do think maybe that there is kind of a larger, broader opportunity. So I guess I'm okay with the motion, but I also think it should be broader, and so maybe we can come back later and expand the duties of this. But I think that I agree with Mr. Myers there about why don't we look at something more.
Mr. Herndon.
Thanks. Yeah, I think Mr. Bernier made some good points, and I was reading the proposal kind of too narrowly, thinking that it only allowed for the creation of this Parks and Library Committee joint, but it seems like there's a lot of clarity here that this ad hoc committee could come up with a proposal of just the parks, or just the library, or neither, right? And that is really kind of their point. And so if we have that kind of understanding that it is not the only outcome of this ad hoc committee is this one joint recommendation, that they actually have authority to kind of see which way makes most sense and then come up back to us with that proposal. I think that makes more sense. I like the 6-month goal for the committee to limit staff time. As I said earlier, I think staff time costs money, and we should not just waste it and use it willy-nilly. We should be very careful about it, but by limiting it to 6 months, I mean, if spending 6 months of staff time could save years of staff time down the road, then it's obviously money well spent. And so, yeah, I think that's good, and I think the limitation for ad hoc committee members to actually fund these 2 things makes sense as well. So with those modifications and understandings, I can support this.
Mr. Lord.
Well, I'm glad that we brought up the legal ramifications of doing this. I think that needs to come as the highest priority. And certainly there's a lot of constraints on the library system that's already in place. I'm not sure we fully understand what the constraints are by the State Authorities Act yet. It's a big document. So if we don't tackle those first, the rest of this conversation is moot. Then one other thing, and I think about our staff, and all our agency directors have someone they're responsible to. Look at our parks director, who's also responsible to the authority and we're talking about creating a Parks Committee to whom she will be responsible. Who wants to take a job where they got 3 bosses? Anybody? Me neither.
Any further discussion? Ms. Whitman?
I'd like to point out what may be obvious to
Anybody here, but in addition to the 2 members of General Forum who would be appointed to this committee, anyone in this room can sit in on that committee. It will be open to the public, am I not understanding that correctly? Anybody sitting on the committee obviously has the ear of anyone who wants to express an opinion. So I think it's an opportunity to be inclusionary rather than limiting. And just for my general edification, thank you, our executive director, for obviously making the commitment to follow through on this. That is your staff time, your time. Have you reached out to other people? I'm assuming that somebody in this room may already have made a commitment, is interested in following up on this. I don't necessarily see it as a burden if anybody's interested in this topic. I do see it as a commitment. So just curiosity, have you reached out to other people to get a sense of whether they would?
Talking about from my staff?
Well, people who are listed on this chart.
So we had a representative from the authority, as well as the 2 agency directors at that executive committee meeting. I also attended the SCLO board meeting in the week prior and made this recommendation known to them there. So they are aware of this as well. I don't know if Lisa has yet told them that it was coming to the general forum, but they are aware that this was the discussion that was going to be had tonight.
I thought so. Thank you. Just curious.
Anyone else? There is a motion on the table, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say no.
No.
I believe the motion passes. University report, Mr. Morales.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Sorry, couldn't be there in person this evening. Keep my update short, not much to report out. I just want to remind folks that the end of the semester is quickly approaching. In fact, this week, students are out on Thanksgiving break. When they return, classes will end December 12th, with finals shortly thereafter, the 15th and the 19th, and then commencement on the 21st. So it's that time of year again. Really can't believe it's the fall semester already, but here we are. And that's all I have for you tonight, unless there's any questions for me.
Any questions? Ms. Stevens.
Hi, Julia, thanks. I just have a question about the Susan Welch building. And I know there's a lab that was in there, and just wondering when they will be able to get back into their lab.
Yeah, so I don't know about the specific lab, Patty, but I do know that talking with some folks there that they anticipate being back in the building by the end of the semester. I haven't really received an update yet. That was last week, I believe. I spoke with some folks. So, but again, they anticipate having folks back in their offices and classrooms before the end of the semester. I don't know exactly when, and I don't know too much about specifically about any labs or anything like that, but just in general, I know that's the plan.
Okay, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, Julia.
Yep, you're welcome. Thank you all. Have a great holiday.
You as well. State College Area School District report. I believe we have Mr. Barlow himself in for this one this evening.
Thank you all. I just want to tell you a few updates. We'll be swearing in a new board on December 1st. Peter Buck and Carleen Crevecore are leading the board, and Rebecca Arnold and Desmaris and Jennifer Black will be joining it. And plans for the Park Forest Middle School are moving along. We hired the same supervising contractor as for the high school and for the renovation of 3 elementary schools a few years ago. And we had our first hearing with Patton Township on that. I will likely be taking over this role from Gretchen Brandt, but you will probably see both of us at these meetings in the future because she is joining the board of College Township. And that's my report.
Thank you, Jesse, and congratulations. You yourself have been re-elected to that, have been finally elected to that office. So look forward to your reports in the months ahead. Any questions for Mr. Barlow? All right, thank you. Executive Director's Report.
Thanks very much. To start off with, we want to recognize the Veterans Day holiday and all of the veterans who have served here. So we probably honor all COG employees, volunteers, and our General Forum members who have selflessly served our country. Recognize the profound impact of your dedication and resilience on our nation and its values. Your commitment not only exemplifies courage, but also reflects the sacrifices that families make. Thank you for your unwavering dedication to our freedom and for continuously inspiring us through your exemplary service. Together we celebrate and appreciate your bravery. And so just wanted to take a moment to thank all of those here. So our only large meeting of the month, Pam Robb was kind enough to do something nicer at one of our earlier meetings, but here for the whole forum, I wanted to take that opportunity. At this point in the year, we are working on our performance reviews. Agency directors have been getting those completed and submitted. I am working on my evaluations of those agency directors. And that should be coming to a close here within the next week. And at the same time, the agency directors are working on planning an orientation for our newly elected officials, which we will also open up to prior elected officials to make sure that everybody has the opportunity for a solid education in all things COG. They will be, included with this will be tours of our facilities. I've encountered too many people who still haven't seen what's upstairs in this building. So we will rectify that for anybody who is interested, so that there is a bit of a time commitment for these kinds of things. We have a long PowerPoint to go through to kind of give everybody the facts and figures of COG, but then each agency will take some time to show you what goes on in their facilities, and that can be the good, bad, and the ugly. There are, facility issues that we are working to fix over the years, things that have been fixed, new things to celebrate. We have a wonderful new garden over at SCLO that I encourage you to go see. So there are a lot of things coming forth with that, but we will make those plans through December and work with our newly elected officials to get that scheduled probably for a couple Saturdays early in the year. And that's it for me.
Any questions? Thank you, Ben. Any agency directors had any items they wanted to share?
Go ahead.
We'll recognize the library director.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. So the last time I was before you, I talked about the Fall Fund Drive and how we were getting started with that. So I wanted to report back to you.
because we're halfway through right now. And just before this meeting, we did a total. The latest fall fund drive total is $54,752. Those are all community donations. We're actually $250 away from the halfway mark. And we will hit the halfway mark at the point of our campaign at the end of this month. So I have a feeling we're going to hit it. Even if I have to make that donation myself, we're going to hit it. So a big thank you to everybody in the community that's been supporting the library. Again, go.sglo.org/donate if you want to support what the library offers to the community. The other thing that I wanted to point out was that, thank you very much, Ben, for the announcement there. We're so excited to open last week the Pat Moyer Memorial Garden. We will be giving a larger presentation about this in the spring when we can actually bring in some pictures. But many of you who follow us on social media can see the transformation of the garden space that's right behind the library. The thing that is so exciting to us is that that space was transformed, so now it is going to be available to all individuals. We were able to have an installation of a ramp leading from the children's department directly to a space that will be used for programming, be used for story times. It's just the beginning of that garden space because we do have ideas for the future. And most importantly, this entire project was paid for with donor dollars. This, in our mind, is a perfect example of the community coming together with an idea and really thinking through what they wanted and being able to connect with the staff really to take things to that next place. So outdoor programming at the library, this is going to be really fantastic. I can't wait to bring those stories to you in the spring and also in the summer. So thank you very much. Any questions I can answer about either of those things? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other, Ms. Adams, the Planning and Zoning Director, or Planning Director.
Yeah, Regional Planning Director. Thanks.
Regional Planning Director.
I just wanted to say that the Center County Solar Group is going to have its next meeting on Wednesday, December 3rd at 9 a.m. at the Center Region Council of Governments building. So that was recently just announced, and we will have our next meeting then.
Questions? Thank you, Pam. Any other?
The questions will all be answered there, right? So, yeah.
You can ask questions.
I don't want to be presumptuous.
Tonight, we only know 8 days in time of the meeting, not the answers to what is coming, so, yes.
I will be there, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I'll just add that the agenda will be posted once it's finished on our website. So the calendar invite is on the COG calendar.
Will it also be recorded?
Yeah, it's recorded.
Yeah. Mr. Kasab.
I apologize, Pam. What was the date and time?
December 3rd at 9 a.m. at the COG building.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Pam. Any other agency directors? No more. Okay, there was no more. That was all. So our authorities, boards, and committee reports. I have nothing further to add for executive committee, but if anyone has any questions. Perfect. Finance committee, Mr. Frank.
Yes, Mr. Chair, in addition to the after-action items that many of the committees may see coming forward in early 2026, I would just offer that the Finance Committee had a extended after-action review of the 2026 budget process, moving from the schedule into guideline, into SIGC, into detailed, into summary budget. And hopefully we provided staff with some things to just continue improving the process as they have over the past several years.
Any questions for finance? HR committee did not meet. Parks Capital Committee did not meet. Public Safety, Ms. Trainer.
Yes, public safety met and we discussed the active violence run, hide, fight training. Mr. Risley will be working with local law enforcement to plan and schedule a general forum training and also encourage individual municipalities to consider some sort of training as well. Since our meeting, Mr. Risley has informed us that the IS 907, the FEMA training, is now available online since the federal government is reopened. So that is available for all members to review. And Mr. Risley also recommended to us on YouTube the Run, Hide, Fight video. It's about 12 minutes long, and it's an excellent video for an active shooter scenario. So those options are now available to all members of the general forum. And we had our staff updates as reported, and I'll keep my remarks brief. There'll be more to come in early 2026 with a plan for the training for general forum.
Thank you. Any questions? Facilities Committee did not meet. Land Use and Community Infrastructure Committee did not meet. Climate Action and Sustainability Committee did not meet. Parks and Recreation Governance Special Committee, Mr. Frank.
Yes, Mr. Chair, as indicated in the agenda, we currently have the municipal intergovernment agreement out for review with the COG solicitor, COG and authority solicitor. On Wednesday, we'll be taking up maintenance agreements and authority bylaws.
Any questions? If not, we already heard from SCLO Center Region Library this evening. The Center Region Parks and Recreation Authority did not meet. And that then leaves us with the EM Council. So if Ms. Farkas or Mr. Risley had anything to add?
This group meets tomorrow.
Their meetings, their meetings tomorrow. They last met on July 29th, so I think they've shared their updates and we've got their questions. So, yeah, sorry about that. Next up, we have a farewell to COG colleagues. I was going to say there's a few on here with some stellar years of service, and we recognize all of them this evening. There's 6 elected officials who have participated in the COG's General Forum and its committees. Outgoing members may feel free to make any remarks as they are recognized. Once we recognize all members, Lisa Reeves Collins, the director of the SCLO Library, will deliver a brief presentation. In College Township, we have Dustin Best.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just been a pleasure getting to know everyone and serving on this, on the COG here. That's all.
Next up in, Ferguson Township, a good friend, colleague, as well as mentor, who I seem to have always followed in footstep with from going, I remember Miss Lisa Strickland from, she used to be the chair of our planning commission, and then I became the chair of the planning commission, and then she went to the board of supervisors, and then I went to the board of supervisors. Lisa was chair on the board of supervisors. I became chair of the board of supervisors over in Ferguson Township. So, yeah.
That's been a fun transition.
Yes.
We've worked together for a long, long time, so, and I've enjoyed it. And I've enjoyed getting to know all of you, so thanks for everything you do.
Over in Half Moon Township, we have Charles Beck and Dave Piper. I believe, Patty Hartle will be.
Take care of them at the end.
Yep, we'll be here to receive theirs. In Harris Township, We have Bruce Lord.
It seems like just yesterday I was sitting here listening to a bunch of people give their closing remarks as they were on their way out. And as time flies, I think we do a pretty good job here of disagreeing agreeably. And we had a pretty good example of it today. So, when I first ran, did the League of Women Voter thing, and they said, you know, you got 5 minutes to wrap it up or whatever it was, and I said, it's not going to take 5 minutes. I live in a wonderful place. My job is not to screw it up. Don't screw it up.
Thank you. And last but not least, over in Patton Township, we do have Elliot Abrams, who we will be recognizing in January. So congratulations to all of you, and defer to Ben or Lisa.
Just want to say that, I have not been with you all that long, but it has been a pleasure getting to know each and every one of you. And, as somebody who, has spent their career in local government service, I greatly appreciate the role of elected officials and the time and extra commitment that you do for your neighbors, for your communities, and really want to recognize you and thank you for that time that you've put in to help other people. It is often extremely thankless, but do hope that you realize that there are those of us who recognize your efforts and appreciate those. So thank you all.
All right, thank you, Chair. So SCLO Center Region Library, we are always happy to be a part of honoring outgoing elected officials. And in our world, there's just nothing better than leaving a book in honor of someone's service to our shared community in the Center Region. Each tribute book that we've selected tonight is going to have a book plate in front of it. It'll say presented in honor of, and then it'll have the name of the individual. You'll also be able to go to sclolibrary.org. If you click on the catalog in the upper right-hand corner and you type in the supervisor's name, you'll see the books come up, the tribute books come up. And the amazing thing is many of the people tonight have several tribute books already in their honor. I think that shows the long commitment of service that many of these people had. It's just incredible. Now, these books, I'm going to be giving you just kind of like the paper versions because guess what? Some of them are already in circulation. But you can put a hold on them. I'm happy to help that get in line. Or, they might be on the shelf for you to take a look at at a later date. For College Township, I wanted to start out with Dustin Best. Dustin, I want to thank you for your leadership you provided as you work to ensure the mission and the vision of the council in college. To work hard, I love this, to listen, to strive to uphold the good and improve upon what is needed. To honor your work, we have chosen a CEO for all seasons, Mastering the Cycles of Leadership by Dewar. As described in the book, I had to take a read of it. You are actually in season 4, which is apparently and appropriately, that is winter. You are sending your leadership forward by planting the seeds for the next group of community leaders. So true, so true. Thank you so much, Mr. Best. All right, for Half Moon Township Supervisor Charles Chuck Beck. Thank you, Mr. Beck, for sharing your time and construction expertise with your township. To honor your work, we have chosen Good Night Construction Site by Sherry Rinker. At sunset, when their work is done for the day, a crane truck, a cement mixer, and other pieces of construction equipment make their way to their resting places and go to sleep, or end their time on the Board of Supervisors. So thank you so much, Mr. Beck, for all of the expertise that you brought, especially to all of the road improvements that have been done in Half Moon Township. All right, we have Half Moon Township Supervisor Dave Piper. When I was giving a library tour to Mr. Piper, he and I talked a bit about the power of storytelling and how important an individual's or community's stories are to making up the patchwork of local history. To honor your work, Mr. Piper, we have The Mind Electric, a neurologist on the strangeness and wonder of our brains by Priya Anand. Stories are etched into the very structure of our brains. Codes so profound that the impulse to tell stories survives and even surges after the most devastating injuries. Thank you, Mr. Piper, for your storytelling and for your commitment to the community's history. For Harris Township Supervisor Bruce Lord, we appreciate the countless hours you have spent helping to ensure our community's trees, parks, and recreation opportunities are consistently prioritized. For you, and no, it's not a statistics book. I thought that wouldn't be fair. We have, this is an incredible book. It's called The Burning Earth, A History by Sunil Amrith. It's a brilliant paradigm-shifting global history of how humanity has reshaped the planet, and the planet has shaped human history over the last 500 years. Thank you, Mr. Lord, so much for your service. For Ferguson Township Supervisor Lisa Strickland, thank you, Lisa, for your years of service focusing on long-range, sustainable planning for your community. Planning that balances growth with community and environmental preservation. I want to also thank you personally just for being a mentor to me when I started as the library director and really helping me navigate that. So thank you. To honor your work, we have After the Miracle, The Political Crusades of Helen Keller by Max Wallace. This is an amazing book showing the depth of this incredible woman, and it enlightens our view of Keller's fierce commitment to justice and to her community. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it. Now, I'm not going to give Elliot's because we're going to wait for his, but his is cool because it's, you know, it's all about weather. So, and I even had a pun ready for it, so I'm going to hold on to that through January. But I want to thank everyone. We look forward to celebrating Elliot in January. But thank you all for the time that you give, the ideas that you bring forth. And I hope that the books that were placed in your honor will just give you a little smile. And thank you on behalf of SCLO Center Region Library and all of the other agency directors that have worked with you so closely over the last years.
Congratulations to all. Be missed, but sometimes you also come back. So whatever best wishes ahead and whatever life calls you upon next. So thank you. Authority. Any matters of record anyone wanted to bring forward? Yes.
Drop food if you're here, whether it's for a solar meeting tomorrow or any other business brings you here to the township building. Collecting food through the end of the year, and the bin is in the lobby, and it's going to work with the YMCA anti-hunger program or other programs that Mel Curtis runs here in the region. Thank you.
And yes, thank you, Patty, for organizing that. I think it's incredible. to have us all as elected officials, coming together and just supporting those in need during the holidays. I know the food banks have had a lot of requests this time of the year, especially with Thanksgiving and other holiday items, and just encourage everyone to get out and support those in need in one way or another this holiday season. So thank you again. Anything else? If not, I am asking for a motion to adjourn. All right. We are adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.